Hey, what's up guys, El Assassino here. Today I have a full ranking of all the Assassin's Creed in a tier list, so if you like this consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 300 subs. Anyway, to the list. Alright, starting off with the first AC game. Now let's start with the combat. The combat was very basic, classic block and strike considering it was made in 2007 though, so I have to give it some slack. Same with the story, it was very basic, but had an interesting plot twist. I can't say. The same with the parkour though. The parkour was way ahead of its time, it was smooth, and there was some street transitions that you could do over the stands. The main downfall was the climbing. When Altair climbed it was like he weighed 1,000 pounds, very slow and clunky. The maps and cities were good though, probably some of the best in the series. All of this, and considering it was made in 2007, I gotta put it at B tier, the best part being that it was the start of the franchise. Now Assassin's Creed 2, I think you know where I'm gonna put this masterpiece. The story an easy 10, best start for a character in the franchise easily. The combat was almost the same as AC1, but it had a few more cool gadgets. The maps though, they were incredible, definitely up there with AC1. The only gripe I had with the game is the fact you can't replay the mission. I mean, almost every mission was a 10 and you couldn't replay them, come on now. And for the finisher, the main character is Ezio Auditore, so definitely in the S tier. One of, if not my favorite Assassin's Creed games. AC Brotherhood. This one was good, very good. Some say a bit too big and I agree, too much space. Rome itself though was incredible. It's a shame there was only one real map, but the Auditore Villa attack was a nice touch, it really set up a nice revenge. The combat was amazing, I loved the fact that they took the Assassin's Creed to combat and improved on it, then they added the option to chain kill. And that was sick, I mean you could take out hordes of enemies without breaking a sweat. Now the story, it was good. Was not as good as Assassin's Creed 2, but it was nice, although the first half or quarter of it was pretty slow. It all felt like a big tutorial, but I think because they added so much content it kinda need one. To wrap this game up, I gotta put it in the A tier. Here we got the finale, AC Revelations. So many people hated on this game, and I feel like the biggest thing that carried this game was the story. It doesn't really do much content-wise from AC Brotherhood except for the maps and the Hookblade. The maps were really good. Exploring Constantinople was interesting, especially with the assassins running around trying to kill you all the time. And the Hookblade was very interesting and satisfying, but the story was definitely in second place in the trilogy. Seeing Altair at the end made grown men cry, and when Ezio meets Desmond is also an incredible moment. Then seeing Ezio die of old age truly wraps up a goated trilogy. 100% a tier. This next one might get a bit controversial. Assassin's Creed 3, some say it's the worst in the series, some say it's underrated. What I think is that it's an average game. It was always a favorite of mine since it came out. I think that the characters are good but not super interesting. I do though like how we see Edward's child and grandchild. Boston was not that good, it was pretty generic and bland, but the boat combat was a really good start. It was smooth and satisfying. Now the melee combat, I loved it. It was brutal, swift and ultra satisfying. Honestly, I think the melee combat was the best part of the game, same with the parkour. The gadgets were amazing like the rope dart and the bow. And the hunting was new. The story was alright, but it wrapped up the Desmond storyline, so that was definitely better than the Connor ending. Altogether, I gotta put it at a B. Assassin's Creed Black Flag. A whole lot of people say it's the best in the series. I think the Ezio games are still better, but that's my opinion. The key features in Black Flag were the boat combat as well as sailing the seas as a pirate. The map was gigantic with so much to explore and fight. And Edward, he was amazing. Seeing a lost money-hungry pirate mastering himself, then joining the Brotherhood is such a fulfilling thing to see. The gripes were very small, like the infamous tailing missions. Now the combat, it was almost the same as AC3, but different weapons and the pistols were very nice. Being able to have 4 pistols on you was badass. My personal favorite feat was the ships. Everything about them was amazing, down to doing raids on other ships for loot and supplies. Easy S tier. This next game is the same as AC3, very controversial. Assassin's Creed Rouge. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. The story was good but worse than AC3. The combat was the same as Black Flag, and same with the ships. The maps were also almost the same as Assassin's Creed 3 with a few more areas like when Lisbon collapsed. I do really like how Shay becomes a Templar. We've never really played as a Templar in any of the games except for playing as Haytham. So even though Shay was a bit boring, it was cool to kill and fight assassins on the Templar side and to see Shay completely broken because of the Brotherhood. And considering the game didn't have that much time, it's still a decent game. So it's going in the C tier. Now we got Assassin's Creed Unity. It had a bad start with a lot of bugs, but eventually it got better. The story was bland but had a very sad ending. The combat was excellent. There was so many variety to choose from with the weapons like spears, axes, swords, and even a blunderbuss in the DLC. And the parkour was easily the best in the entire series, and it doesn't even come close. It was just so fluid and smooth with a little bit of tricks in it which we don't really see in the AC games. Paris was an amazing map to play and definitely one of the best in the series. My only two gripes were the story and the character, but the rest was a 10. Assassin's Creed Unity was an all-time favorite from my childhood and I still love it so much to this day, so I gotta put it in S. Assassin's Creed Syndicate was one of those AC games that some people loved but most hated it. I've played this game once and I never really touched it again till the Jack the Ripper DLC, so let's start with the pros. London was a nice change. It was very civilized and new. The grappling hook was one of my favorite hidden blade accessories. It was fun, satisfying, and again something different. Now the cons. The combat was easily the worst in the series. I hated how the enemies felt like they were made of steel, and it was very repetitive. The characters were kind of funny, but I didn't really like Jacob and Evie. And the story was pretty bad. It was just a classic take over the city and kill the main bad guy. That was it. All things considered, I gotta put it in E tier. Now I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I never played Origins that much. I would get so invested into the story, but there was way too many RPG elements like the combat and the loot system, so I never really played it. In that case, I'm gonna put it in its own tier. I'm gonna keep it short with Odyssey. I played it once and never played it again. Way too many RPG elements, dead story, boring characters, assassins don't even exist, and no hidden blade. The only fun thing is the mini battles, that's about it. But if it was not an Assassin's Creed game and it was called something else, I think people would like it more. F tier. Next up we got Valhalla. I enjoyed this one much more than Odyssey. It was so good to see the hidden blade make a comeback, and the combat was absolutely brutal. The story was hard to keep track of because the game is like 90 hours long. This game also started the reincarnation storyline with Odin and Loki, which I didn't like at all. I think the whole god thing was not very Assassin's Creed-like. Same with the fact you don't even play as an assassin. This game was fun, but same with Odyssey, it didn't feel like an AC game. The map and graphics were the best part of Valhalla, and I still feel like if they made Valhalla a part of a different series, people would have liked it more. All things considered, I'm gonna give it a D tier. Oh baby, this is it. This is the comeback of the franchise Assassin's Creed Mirage. I love this game. For once in years you actually play as an assassin in the Brotherhood, and it feels so good. The characters were pretty good, but I still don't like the Loki and Odin storyline, but most of the game isn't about that. The combat was good and fluid with nice parries with a cool execution button. The stealth was the best we have had in so long, and it made you actually feel like an assassin. The drip is average, not too detailed, but still good. The parkour was a bit too slow for me, but I still enjoyed running around Baghdad. The assassinations were my favorite, especially the eagle sound when you execute one. The story was not a 10, but it was pretty good. I like the plot twist at the end with Nahal. I feel like Basim could have been much more interesting if he was not taken over by Loki, but I still have to put this nostalgia-filled game in the A tier. Alright, that's it. All the Assassin's Creed games put in a tier and ranked. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. It would be incredible if I hit 300 subs, and remember, this is my opinion, so let me know yours in the comments.